Hi, I'm Machaela McLean, and I'm an ambassador in Girl Scouts and a senior in high school. In the past few years, I've been thinking more about my future and what I want to pursue as a career. As a young woman who wants to enter into the science and medical industry, I'm no stranger to the concept of male-dominated fields. However, I began to wonder, what inspires women to enter these male-dominated fields, and what are their experiences? So I decided to look for answers to these questions by interviewing women who are in male-dominated fields themselves. I'm going to take you along on my journey, and we'll get to find out, is every industry welcoming to women? What challenges did these women face? And do they have any advice for girls and women who want to enter into male-dominated fields as well? Without further ado, let's dive into these stories of these wonderful women and find out what it's really like to be a woman in a male-dominated field. Hi, this is Machaela McLean, and today I'm here with Barbara Cox, the president, CEO, and founder of HQ Marketing and Advertising. Hi Barbara, how are you doing today?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm great, thank you so much for sitting down and talking with me.
I'm happy to do so, and it's been wonderful having you here with us these 3 days at Live on Green.
So my first question is, when did you decide that you wanted to pursue this kind of career?
I always had an interest in art when I was in high school. I took a number of classes that were different disciplines in art, and I had a couple of very influential teachers. I also was very good in English, and I was pushed by some of my counselors to potentially follow a career as a teacher. But my passion for art pushed me in a different direction. And I went to Los Angeles Trade Technical College to take advertising and marketing because I wanted to do something where I was going to be able to help influence people and leave people and things that I find better than when I found them.
Yeah, and I think that advertising and marketing is not necessarily a field that is talked about very often. Can you explain a little bit more about what you do in that field?
Sure, I'm happy to do that. We have a very large practice. We have clients that are in food. We have clients that are in real estate. One of our largest clients is the largest commercial grower of stone fruits and nuts. And that particular company actually patents and breeds all of the peaches, nectarines, plum cots, and in fact has most of the patents on the almonds, which is how they pronounce them as opposed to almonds, that Blue Diamond packages for distribution around the globe. So no 2 days are alike at my office.
Today I'm here with Cecilia Arteaga, and she is a mechanic. So I've prepared a couple of questions, to get to know a little bit more about you and your story being a mechanic. So when did you decide that you wanted to become a mechanic?
Initially, I didn't want to become a mechanic to begin with. I was initially in the medical field, pursuing that for about 2 years or so. And somewhere in between, I felt that it wasn't fully what I wanted to, wasn't making me that happy. So I decided to do where I felt my heart was fully happy, which was working on vehicles.
And was there someone who inspired you to come into this field?
Initially, no, because I feel like there wasn't, and there still really isn't that many female role models in the automotive industry. But when I first arrived where I am today in this shop, there was one female working here, and she was the one that kickstarted me into wanting to fully indulge into this.
Hi, this is Machaela McLean, and today I'm here with Chef Jamie, a TV personality and celebrity chef. So I just wanted to ask you a few questions about your career and your pathway to being where you are right now as a chef.
Terrific.
So when did you decide to pursue this career path?
So I grew up sitting on the counter in the kitchen watching my mother cook. And I always thought the army was coming to get to dinner, but they never came. My mom cooked from a tremendous place of love. She raised me single-handedly, and she worked very long days, and then used cooking as a stress relief and a way to gather our family together, to sit down, to share time, and those family memories that are still unforgettable for me today. So I went into the food world, I think much because of the way that I was raised. My mother also owned a cafe and bakery when I was growing up, and I watched her connection with people and the love and the passion that she shared for it, and it inspired me.
Yeah, that's great. And so would you say that your mother was your inspiration for going into this field?
Definitely so.
Yeah.
And then I went to culinary school, and I had a lot of really amazing mentors. I had the privilege of working for Emeril Lagasse for a lot of years, and he's been a fine friend and a fine mentor to me. And I think that when you associate with good people, they pave the way to, I think, continue to be enamored with an industry, especially the food industry, which has seen a lot of ups and downs and challenges.
Definitely. Hi, I'm Machaela McLean, and today I'm here with the TV director, Heather Jack. Hi Heather, how are you doing today?
Good, hi. Thanks for sitting down with me.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to interview you.
Yeah.
So I've prepared a few questions for you. So when did you first decide, you wanted to go into the entertainment industry?
I was probably about your age. I was in high school, and we had a family friend who worked in film. I'd always loved storytelling. I loved writing, and so I knew of this family friend who was doing special effects for movies, making big pails of fake blood and other kind of tactile special effects work. And I thought, oh, maybe this could be a career that I could move into. And so I started taking classes at the San Francisco Art Institute in high school, just summer classes. And then when I went to college, I majored in film studies and kind of just kept pursuing that as a career.
Was there someone who inspired you to do it?
Yeah, I think, I always wanted to... I enjoyed being creative. I wanted to work in a creative way. So I think I was inspired by the idea that I could be doing storytelling as part of my job. And then there were a lot of people that influenced me along the way, starting with kind of professors that I had in school, and then later people that I worked with, filmmakers. I started watching, I obviously watched movies and television growing up, but then I started kind of seeing which directors or which filmmakers I liked more than others, or what kind of felt like it was more my voice. And a lot of that came out of film school also.
Yeah. Today I'm here with Elida Vanhoy, who is a mathematician in the Air Force and also flies airplanes for fun.
Woohoo! Girls, we can do it.
So when did you decide to pursue this career in mathematics?
Well, I was older. I did not go straight from high school to the university. I was actually older, and my kids, who are now 29 and 30, were in school, and I could not help them with the math. So I thought I better go back to school and try to understand the math so that I can help my own kids. Well, I fell in love with it, and I ended up pursuing a career in mathematics.
I want to know, was there someone who also inspired you to go into this field of work, or?
Absolutely. So I was working for the Space Shuttle program. I worked for the Space Shuttle program for 11 years. And when I was working there, I didn't have a degree. So I started off as a receptionist and moved my way up. And as I moved my way up, I recognized that my friends that had science, technology, engineering, and mathematics degrees were making a lot more money than I was making, and we were working at the same place. So I thought I better, get my act together and get a degree, and that way I can make more money and still have a lot of fun. So they definitely inspired me there.
Today I'm here with Jenny Wong, Associate Conductor at the LA Master Chorale. So my first question is, when did you decide that you were going to pursue this career choice?
I actually came to it pretty late. I started out, I came to this country from Hong Kong. I grew up in Hong Kong, and I came to the US for a voice performance degree, actually. So I always, at the time maybe thought I was going to be a soloist. But then I graduated from that degree, and my high school mentor back in Hong Kong actually invited me to go back and teach high school and conduct 4 choirs without any conducting experience. And that was when I discovered that I had this huge passion for, just making music with people, and, really wanted to find out how it was done. So then I came back to the US to pursue grad school, and one thing led to another, and here I am.
What made you want to go into this field of work? Was there anyone who inspired you along the way?
Yeah, so earlier I was mentioning my high school choir conductor. who basically took me under his wing since I was, in 8th grade. And we sang in mixed choir with a boys' school next doors. And it was just this incredibly magical community that we formed in choir. And of course, as a child growing up in Hong Kong, I never thought that could possibly become a career. But I remember even as a child, I would say to my best friends, who still are my best friends today, in choir, and say to them, wouldn't it be so amazing if somewhere in this world there could be a job where I could be in choir rehearsal every day? And here I am. But it's so true that I think having that one mentor in my early years, it made me so look forward to this music making, art making, community sharing, that it just became a huge part of it became part of my expectation of what, just being with people and music making should be like. And I don't think without this particular teacher that I would ever have even considered that this was a possibility, because I saw him do it so well. And I saw a form of leadership that was so graceful and strong, but also empowering for the people around him.
Today I'm here with Machaela Vasquez, the Director of Development at the Violin Foundation. I want to know, when did you first decide you wanted to pursue this career path?
I never woke up when I was younger and said, I want to grow up to be the Director of Development for a nonprofit. I actually, when I was younger, that kind of thinking wasn't even brought up. It was go to school, Michael, if you want to have a better life from where I was, then you need to go to college. And there's never an opportunity in my household of dreaming of what you want to do when you grow up. It was more of survival method. It was go to school and get a good job that pays you good money so you can survive. And which is unfortunate, but that's just how it was. This position, I grew up, I've had many different types of positions, and fortunately every single job I've had has led to this job. So all the skills that I've learned, every experiences, they've all brought me to this place. And if I were to sit down and create a job that I wanted, this would be it. And it just had in it a cause. We bring people together for a clean water, healthy ocean at the Violin Foundation. So I'm helping Mother Earth. So that's close to my heart. It's event planning, which is fun for me. It's working with children, planting seeds of knowledge in them at a young age on the importance of water. It's just everything tied together.
Today I'm here with Nikki, and she is in sports sales. Hi Nikki, thank you so much for coming here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so my first question is going to be, what made you decide that you wanted to go into sports sales?
So I grew up playing sports, and it has been a part of my life since forever. And so I really knew that I have a passion for this, and I wanted to kind of like spread that with the world. So that's kind of how I found myself like wanting to work in the sports industry.
What kind of sports did you grow up playing, and what gave you this passion for sports?
Yeah, so I grew up playing ice hockey, and then I ended up playing rugby in college. And so those are both sports that are played by men as well. And kind of I knew that going into this industry, it was going to be a male-dominated, and that I was going to be the minority of the sex, right? So, but going into it, it was a kind of motivating to be that female figure within the sports industry. So that's kind of like what got me going and like what drove me to be where I am.
I want to know, was there anyone, because you grew up like with sports as a big part of your life, was there anyone in sports or just anyone in general who inspired you to go get to where you are now?
Honestly, I've been asked this question, and there has not been a single person, like one single person who has inspired me. Just because if you think about it, in terms of women's sports, you can only go so far. Like in men's sports, you have all the top athletes, and they get paid however much, right? And for me to look up to a female athlete, I could definitely do that, but you can only take it so far with female sports. So that was kind of like my viewpoint on it. I would always watch film and gameplay, and I had some athletes that I would be like, oh, I'm really interested in to learn their techniques and to learn their style of play and everything like that. But in terms of like one single person, I didn't really have one. I would just like take it as a whole and just kind of evaluate it that way.
Today I'm here with Sarah and Taylor, and they are 2 members of the United States Air Force. First off, what is your guys' rank in the Air Force?
So I'm a first lieutenant.
And I'm a staff sergeant.
Okay, yeah. And how long did it take you guys to get to where you are, and like what did it take to get to your rank?
So I went to the United States Air Force Academy. It's a 4-year college. Graduated from there with my bachelor's in meteorology, and then commissioned as a second lieutenant in the United States Air Force. So that was back in 2016. And then you spend about 2 years as a second lieutenant, and then at that 2-year mark, I pinned on first lieutenant, and this coming spring I'll be captain. So it's 2 years, and then you'll just progress up the ranks like that. And her story is a little different.
So I'm enlisted. So I went to a recruiter's office and then enlisted that way. So that was in 2014. After you finish basic, you go to your first duty station, and the rank of A1C was just given to me after all the credits I received in tech school, and that's like college credits that you receive. And then I was sitting at that rank probably for a year and a half, and then I made senior airman below the zone, which means I got to pin senior airman on 6 months early, and I sat at that for about another 2 years, and then I tested for staff sergeant and made it my first time. So I've been at this rank now for 2 years.
I want to ask you guys what made you guys decide to pursue a career in the Air Force?
I knew I always wanted to be weather. I grew up in Nebraska and saw how severe weather impacted people. Specifically, tornadoes took out a town just down the road from where I grew up, and it was really sad to see that impact. So I knew I wanted to do that, and when I found out the Air Force had weather, I saw that as a great opportunity. I took it, and then why I joined is a little different than why I stay. Now that I'm here and I understand the Air Force's mission, I see how much of an impact it has on our country and how much it's challenged me to grow, to become a better version of myself. So honestly, it's for all of that. I just want to challenge myself, become better, but then also serve those around me. So.
When I originally joined, it was a year after high school, and I didn't necessarily want to go to college, nor could I afford it. So my grandfather was actually in the Air Force, and he suggested it. And when I came in, I didn't necessarily know what job I even wanted. I just wanted to be able to, one, pursue my education, so that was a main thing for me. And then I guess in the end, just be a part of something bigger. So I didn't expect to get weather at all. I thought I would be an Air Force cop, but I'm definitely proud to do what I do and to have the job that I have, because I see how it impacts people on a daily basis. So it's really cool. So while I joined for educational benefits, I definitely joined just for the bigger picture, because I think it's 1% of people join the armed forces. So it's great to be a part of it.
Yeah. And so you guys talked a little that you guys are in the weather aspect of the Air Force. Can you explain a little bit more what your role in the Air Force and in the weather part of it is?
Yeah, definitely. So right now I'm stationed at the 15th Operational Weather Squadron. I am a senior duty officer, so I run an operations floor with 19 people, overseeing watches and warnings, and then airfield forecasts that go out for that, for specific Air Force bases, Army bases, Guard and Reserve bases across the northeastern United States. And then I'm also a flight commander, so I lead a 35 airman flight, just through day-to-day operations, making sure that they have what they need. Performance reports, stuff like that. So kind of dual-hatted for me. But the biggest thing is just making sure that the people that we support, our customers, are getting the weather information that they need to be able to do the missions they need to, or make decisions that they have to.
I'm at the 26th Operational Weather Squadron, which we are in control of 13 states in the southeastern United States. So we have the exact same mission, our career fields and jobs, but while she's overlooking everything, I'm kind of the one making sure that the other people are pushing out things too. So if I'm issuing stuff for a state or for a region or for the bases, I'm letting her know what I'm doing, so she's in control of everything, because at the end of the day, the commander or the higher ups are going to come to her for the information. So I issue watches and warnings normally for bases.
Hi, I'm Machaela McLean, and today with me I have Winnie Sun, the most followed female financial voice on social media today. When did you decide that you wanted to be a financial advisor?
Well, I never decided I wanted to be a financial advisor. Actually, it was pretty much by accident. During college, I started a television audience production company. I handled shows for such as America's Funniest Home Videos and Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy and whatnot. And actually, my mom, Asian mom, said, you know, Winnie, I didn't send you all the way to college and whatnot to work on TV because your sister's going to be working at Google, and what are you doing working in television? So really, to appease my Asian parents, I started taking certified financial planning courses at night to learn more about money, how to manage money, how to help my parents. And from there, I was sort of pulled into the industry. The professor at the time told me to interview at Smith Barney. I did, and they recruited me, made me an offer I couldn't turn down.
Was there someone who has inspired you to keep going and do these things?
Well, I don't know about you, Machaela, but I feel like all through life we're inspired by different people. You know, when I was growing up, of course, it was mom. And I know your mom's a big presence in your life. But, you know, my mom was someone who worked so hard. And I mean, she's like the Energizer bunny. She worked and worked. She was tough, but she worked really hard. And from a young age, that was the norm and something I aspired to do. And now, you know, I've had a chance to meet with amazing people like Kathy Ireland, my friend Randy Jackson, and so many interesting people, clients, friends, even colleagues of mine who give me little bits of inspiration. I think it's not so important that you need that big aha moment, but you learn from the people that you're surrounding with, and it sort of molds who you are later on.
Today I'm here with Dr. Ronnie Maddox, International Baccalaureate, Head of Schools at Edgewood. All right, so my first question for you is, what made you want to become a principal? Was there someone who inspired you along the way?
Yes, so I had two individuals who inspired me. One was Aaron Sharoma, who was over at San Jose Charter Academy, and the other person was Jim Coombs, who was a former principal, is now actually he's a superintendent now.
And did that discovery of where you wanted to go in your life, did that come early on, or was that something that came with time?
It came with time because I wasn't looking to become an administrator, but Mr. Coombs, who was a principal at that time, had recruited me to be on his admin team, so I was lucky enough to have the opportunity.
Hi, I'm Machaela McLean, and today I'm here with Tanya Pereira, Executive Vice President of Film and TV Music. Hi, Tanya, how are you doing today?
Hi, Machaela. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
So, my first question for you is, when did you decide to pursue this career in music and entertainment?
That's an interesting question. I'm not really sure I remember. I think I first knew that it was a career that somebody could pursue when I was in college. We had a friend of the family who was a music lawyer, a couple of friends who were music lawyers, and so I knew that was a career path. And while I was in college, I decided I wanted to go to law school. And once I was in law school, I still was exploring a bunch of different options. I really considered going into going to work for the Department of Justice and going into public service, working for the Public Defender Service, or someplace on Capitol Hill. Those are a lot of the internships and things that I explored. And I ended up doing one internship with a firm that had a larger practice, and within their practice they had a group that did do entertainment work, music, film, TV, and I ended up getting lucky enough that they made me an offer to go and work there permanently after school, and I'd really enjoyed my time there and the people that I was working with, so that ended up being the decision I made. I still, about a year later, was questioning whether or not I'd go back into the public sector, but it ended up sticking with me.
And was there someone who inspired you?
That's a great question. My aunt is a lawyer, but she's based out of Jamaica, and I don't think I really knew that much about her practice and what she did. Most of my family my dad is a physician, and my mom works in mental health, and so more of a medical background was in my family, so I considered that when I was younger. And I remember when I was maybe around 11, a friend of mine's mother was driving me home from her house, and I was complaining about my mom and about something that I thought was awful that she had done to me, and the friend's mother said to me, "You know what, you're not going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer." And I was 11, and I think that was the first time that I kind of thought, maybe she's right, maybe she's right. So I had always looked at it as a career where you could help people.
Yeah,
I think that's why I thought long and hard about going into a public capacity and didn't really expect to end up in a private capacity. But over time, I ended up feeling as though musicians and people that create needed representation too, and that led me to pursue this particular practice of law.
Yeah, and I think that the practice of law that you're in is not necessarily one that is as exposed, I guess, to the public. So can you explain a little bit what you do in this field of law?
Absolutely. I think that's a really good point. I think most people have no idea what being an entertainment lawyer, and especially a music lawyer, means and what I do. And there's a few different ways that your practice can develop when you work in media. But for me, I've spent most of my career working within companies. And so when you're in the company side, your client is the company. And I've worked for a record label, and now I currently work for a film studio and television studio and network. And so I oversee that client's interests when it comes to any original content, original music, compositions, original recordings that are created, score that's created, that is created for the company in general, for our motion pictures, for our marketing endeavors, things that we might have created for our consumer products and franchise activities, things that might go into our theme parks. So I assist with negotiating all of the rights that we need and all of the terms from all of the people that are contributing to the creation of that work, so that the company can exploit it in the broadest way possible.
So yeah, thank you so much for giving a little explanation of what you do.
No problem at all.
So I wanted to ask you if there were any challenges that you faced trying to start your own company.
Well, I'm a woman. There are a lot of challenges. Everything from working with people in the finance industry to being mistaken in meetings for someone who is not going to lead the meeting. I've had a long career and I've seen it all. And I think young people don't really realize the struggle and the obstacles that came before them. I think it's really important for girls and women to know the history and to understand that we still have a very long way to go.
Yeah. And I think, going through so many challenges and, as a woman, sometimes going into starting your own business, you can a lot of people don't see you as capable, and I think that can be very frustrating.
It can be very frustrating, but I think you have to take the high road, and I think
definitely.
I think you have to be strong and positive and tenacious, and you have to never give up.
Yeah.
I think the event that we're sitting here and talking from today is a perfect example.
Yeah.
This is an event that is surrounding a 131-year tradition in the city of Pasadena and globally called the Rose Parade. And this is the only event that is surrounding the parade that is free and open to the public, because as a woman and a mother, I realized that this was an opportunity for families to come together and spend quality time together doing things that were interesting, and we try very hard with this event that we've created to educate people while we entertain them. And that's a very different approach than a lot of the other content that's out there right now.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the message that you are trying to spread, especially this year focusing on women of history for Live on Green, is a very positive message, and it's definitely something that, you know, people need to hear about, because I think what some of the people of this generation lack is a little bit of that like inspiration that really gets them going to having bigger dreams and chasing those dreams.
Well, you can't really know where you're going unless you know where you've been. And so we're very, very fortunate. We have a number of really important civic and community-based groups that are here with us this year to celebrate the power of hope, which is the theme for the parade. And one of the most important groups that we invited was the National Women's History Alliance, who have been responsible for the last 40 years working diligently to rewrite women into history. And we could not be happier that they are here. They have spent quite a bit of time over the past 2 days, and they'll be with us today, sharing their content. And they are really an incredible group of women.
So I want to go back a little bit to you starting your own company. I think in that process, it can be, with all the struggles that you face, it can be very easy to give up and quit. What was the thing that kept you from doing that?
I never give up on anything, because if I've put enough energy and effort into it, and I've done the research, and I know that whether it's something personal or something in business that I feel so strong and passionate about, I'm going to find a way to do it.
Yeah, and that passion actually that's amazing, because I know that facing struggles, it can be so easy for a lot of people to feel like they're just ready to quit and give up. And I think that it's amazing that you tell yourself that you're never going to give up because you work that hard and you know you deserve it. And I think that is a passion and a determination that a lot more people need. So,
well, you know, I think people forget that the first word that most people speak is no.
Yeah.
And no is part of nothing. So if that's the philosophy you follow, you really have set your path on the wrong track.
Yeah.
You know, positivity and reaching for a goal is really, really important. And people can do so much more than they have any idea they can.
Definitely, yeah. And I think a lot of what trying to see how far you can go is actually trying. You know,
it absolutely is.
Yeah. I think that, you know, I don't know if, you know, I would have been able to be where I am now, or a lot of the people who are here would have been able to be where they are now if they hadn't gone for it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. You don't know what you can do unless you try.
Unless you try, exactly. I want to know how have the struggles that you face changed you, or is the way that you think a product of the struggles that you've been through?
Oh, I think it definitely is, because when you face difficulties, you can either give up, or you can take a deep breath and you can step back and you can think about it, not be reactionary, but think about it and find a way to work through it. You'll find that you'll be asked to do things that you never imagined that you would ever have to do. And at first glance, it may seem daunting and unattainable and just beyond your capability.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't think anything in life comes to you that with a little bit of help and a little bit of patience and a lot of confidence in yourself.
Yeah. Definitely.
If you're not confident, the people around you are not going to
be confident in you. Yeah.
So, you know, not everyone's going to be a leader, and that's fine. But you have to at least give those people around you a sense of positivity.
So that's definitely really interesting to hear your perspective on it too, about, you know, always being positive and that confidence too, because I do believe that if you're not confident in yourself, then the people around you aren't going to have confidence in you.
Being in a field that is very male dominated, there are going to be a lot of struggles that you face. So did you face any challenges when you were working to become a mechanic?
Yes, definitely. In the beginning, there was a lot of people doubting me and doubting my skills about being able to keep up, being able to do the same amount of cars or more as other guys here.
Yeah.
And I feel like they just thought I wasn't going to be able to hang, but I used that in a positive manner to encourage and prove them wrong.
Were there any times that you felt like quitting? Because even though you do take challenges and negativity in a positive light and can make yourself stronger, a lot of the time it can end up bringing us down and making us doubt ourselves. So did that ever happen to you?
It did. I feel like especially in the first 3 months or so when I first started, I did let it get to me a few times, but in the end I just knew that this is what I wanted and I'm doing it for myself, no one else. So I just decided to keep pushing and keep doing what I wanted to do.
Is there any way that the struggles have changed you as a person?
I would say it has helped make me grow and be more confident in myself and in my decisions, because a lot of the times, again, people try to make me doubt myself and whether I really think is what I'm doing is right or wrong. And I feel like it has helped me grow and be more secure in myself.
Coming into the food industry, which I know, especially being on TV, is very, male dominated and it's very challenging. What were some of the challenges that you faced coming into it?
I think professional kitchens are far more male dominated even than food TV is today. Working in professional kitchens, I can tell you I was the only woman in a professional kitchen out of culinary school for 3.5 years.
Wow.
And there were signs in the kitchen that said, "Do not touch Jamie." It was a tough environment, and it's gotten better today, albeit 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It is still a male-dominated industry, but women have come a long way.
Definitely.
When I graduated culinary school a very long time ago now, there were 13 women and 137 men. And I didn't have a lot of female friends at the time because they were either scholastic or social competition. Today, I think women in the industry are far more considered comrades than anything else. And I have a lot of female chef friends, and we all band together, and I have lots of male chef friends too. I think that even though we've seen some setbacks in my industry, I think that there are instances and circumstances where it is getting better and healthier.
Yeah, and I actually didn't know that, there was that much male domination in the cooking and the food industry. Did you ever, feel like quitting or feel that you couldn't do it at any point?
There were plenty of days of exhaustion and throwing your hands up in the air at times. I love what I do. I feel very blessed to be able to share my passion and to teach it, especially in the platforms that I do. And I think it's definitely a labor of love. It's a gift. And I've been able to parlay that gift into a lot of different realms and opportunities. And for that, I'm very grateful. I wondered if I should have gone to law school. But hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah. And have the struggles that you have gone through, do you think that they've changed you as a person in any way?
I definitely think they've continued to make me stronger. I was raised by a very strong, extraordinary woman, and I've always been very resilient. I believe in persistence. I will call you enough times that you finally have to take my phone call. It's gotten me a long way. I definitely do still believe that persistence, attitude of gratitude, positivity will get you far. Not that I don't have down days or spoiled souffles or overdone omelets, that I do. But I definitely think that it's all in your attitude.
The entertainment industry is known for being very competitive. Were there any challenges that you faced along the way on your journey to becoming a director?
Yes, there were a lot of challenges. I think, one major challenge is it's hard to get a job in the industry. It's very competitive. There's a lot of people that want to be working in the industry. So as much as possible, you want to just take any opportunity you can to be working in film or working on set. And my parents would give me the advice, like, if someone offers you a job and it's paid, you take it.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, you can be a little discerning, but I think that, you know, it's good because it gives you a breadth of experience.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, just in terms of those opposite, like, you want to be able to set yourself apart in some way. So creatively, if you're writing, if you're making films, just how, you know, trying to set yourself apart and show your unique voice so that you can stand out in such a competitive field.
Did you ever, you know, feel like you wanted to quit or give up on your journey to becoming a director, and what kept you from doing so?
I did experience some moments of self-doubt, definitely. A large part of being able to be successful in film or entertainment is just staying with it and continuing to work in the industry. And again, even if you're trying different aspects of the industry, you're still gaining experience, you're still growing, hopefully. And so that, I think, is a large, I didn't leave because this is kind of the path that I was on.
Have the struggles that you faced, like, changed you as a person?
Yeah, I definitely think, you know, going through a lot of struggles and obstacles, it kind of helps build your confidence, because then you can see that you've gotten through an obstacle or gotten past something difficult, and you've survived, you're still here. So with that knowledge and with that experience, you, like, the next time you face another obstacle, which is inevitable, you can say, okay, well, I got through it before, I got through it this time. You know, you come out with a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more resilient, so you can face down the obstacles as they come up a little bit easier and with more confidence.
What were some of the challenges that you faced when, you know, getting your degree and going into this field of work?
Absolutely. So one of the things that you all have to remember is that anybody can do it. If I did it, any of you can do it. The key is persistence. Because I do remember taking a math class and I was so excited about it. I did all the homework, I practiced a lot, but when I took the test, I actually failed it. And I failed the class, and I went home crying. I was devastated because this was a class that I needed to graduate. And I couldn't believe that I failed that after all the work I did. I did good on my tests, on my quizzes, and I did good on my homework. So I really do believe that the key is persistence, because I went home and I cried. I hit my pillows because I was really angry. And then I thought, no, I'm not going to give up. My mother told me that I can do whatever I want.
So in that moment, it would have been, you know, really easy to just, you know, quit.
Absolutely.
What was the thing that kept you from doing that?
When I first started that degree in mathematics, I heard comments like, women are not that good in math. What are you thinking? I was so mad. Or Mexicans have never been great mathematicians. What are you thinking? I'm like, what? I can't believe people are saying these things. So I used that anger and that energy to propel me to finish the degree, because when I was at home crying, hitting my pillow because I was really sad that I couldn't believe I didn't pass this class. I was really sad, and I did think for a minute, maybe people are right. Maybe women aren't that great in math. Or I am so glad that I used that energy, that negative energy that they were giving me, to push forward and say, no, you know what? I'm going to prove them wrong. Anytime you go through a struggle, I think it helps you grow. Because you do learn from every mistake you make. You have to be accepting of the fact that nobody's perfect. I'm not going to get an A in every single class. I did try. I tried my hardest, and that's all anybody can ask from you, right? So as long as you try the best you can, you will succeed. Even if you have to do it once or twice.
What made you want to go into this field of work? Was there anyone who inspired you along the way?
Yeah, so earlier I was mentioning my high school choir conductor, who basically took me under his wing since I was, you know, in 8th grade. And we sang in mixed choir with a boys' school next doors, and it was just this incredibly magical community that we formed in choir. And of course, you know, as a child growing up in Hong Kong, I never thought that could possibly become a career.
Yeah.
But I remember even as a child, I would say to my best friends, who still are my best friends today, in choir, and say to them, wouldn't it be so amazing if somewhere in this world there could be a job where I could be in choir rehearsal every day? And here I am.
I think especially the music industry is very competitive, and I want to know, were there any challenges that you faced along the way?
Yeah, I think, you know, any musician, any professional musician will tell you it's, while, you know, as I earlier alluded to, it's so magical being on stage, performing, you know, enjoying just the adrenaline and the chemistry that you share with the musicians on stage. But at the same time, you have to be putting in that there are no shortcuts in music. You have to practice. You have to do score preparation. I have all my stack of scores over there, and there's just no other way other than to spend time with the music. And it's also you know, learning things like rehearsal technique, which basically is people skills, but in a way that facilitates efficiency when you work with people. So there's a lot of you know, skills that you have to acquire in order for you to even look like it's an easy job on the podium, if that makes sense. And obviously, you know, growing up as a, you know, still fairly young Chinese woman in this country, people don't necessarily look at me with the expectation that that would be my role. So that's always, you know, I wouldn't call it so much, I wouldn't describe it as a challenge to me, but it's always fascinating to me how people have certain expectations of what a certain position might look like.
I want to know that if the process and the journey that you have taken to get to where you are, if that has changed you as a person, and if so, how?
I think so. I mean, one of the things that I didn't mention is that being a conductor requires incredibly thick skin, because you invest so much into your work. It basically, you know, and because it's what you love, it becomes, you know, it's your work time, but it's also your rest time, it's your home time, it's your office time.
It becomes a part of you.
Totally. And like, the people that you become the closest with are also the people you work with, who are the musicians. But it also means that when you're on the podium, whatever people around you, the musicians, might feel, or people in the audience might feel, or, you know, the critic might write something in the paper as a review, and you have to take it, you have to take all this input and turn it into something that's productive for yourself.
I want to know if there were any times that you felt like quitting and what kept you from doing so.
Yeah, definitely. I would say that not so much now. Now I love, you know, the challenges. But when I was younger, I actually started, you know, I started conducting for 2 years, and then I felt like, you know, my circle, like I said, my entire life was my work. And I felt like I was bound by that in a way. And at the time I was still living in Hong Kong too. So like, you know, I felt like no matter how much I put in, I saw where my career would max out and where I would hit a ceiling. And I actually thought that I would switch careers to become a solicitor, because both my parents are lawyers. And they, of course, really supported the decision. But I'm really glad that I didn't end up going that path, because I think music challenges me in a way that really continues to open my eyes, not just towards the art, but to people, which is ultimately all you can try to do in this world, I think. Absolutely.
I'm glad you decided to follow your passion.
Thanks.
What kind of struggles did you face, if any, did you face when you were trying to go into sports sales, you know, being a woman in the sports industry?
So my biggest thing is that I feel like a lot of people don't think that women are taken seriously within the sports industry. So that's something that I really had to overcome just with interviewing and even just having a conversation about sports, because to be honest, a lot of males like would rather listen to a male commentate a sport or just talk about sports, right? So, but I really found that if I knew the sport and if I have a lot of knowledge about it, then I was able to kind of like give my perspective on it and be like very intelligent about it. So it didn't really faze me too much. I just had to like really make sure that I knew what I was talking about so that I could present it with confidence.
Was there any times that you felt like quitting? Because I feel like with all of that pressure, you know, in such a male-dominated field, especially like pressure from society too, because you know it is definitely seen as something where sports is something that really only men can talk about or like know about. Was there any times that you felt like quitting because of that pressure?
I have really built myself up to say like I know what I'm talking about. I know the sports. I know the sports industry. So that's kind of like my motivator, and I'm like, whatever a male can do, I can do. So that's kind of been my mindset through all of this. So I've never wanted to quit. If there has been hard times, it's because it's made me want to be even better and just try harder, kind of grow more with it.
Going into the Air Force, what were some of the struggles or fears that you faced while going through your training, and how did you overcome them?
So I think one of the big struggles for me was just feeling like maybe I wasn't going to be good enough for it. Like I knew there was a big physical requirement with you know, PT testing and stuff like that, and then also like the public speaking aspect. Just there was a lot of it that was outside my comfort zone that I didn't grow up doing, so I wasn't sure how I would handle that. But there's been some really great mentors all along the way. So for me, the biggest way to handle it is just like look up to people and ask for help when you need it.
Definitely challenges for me, I think, was tech school, and that's where we go to learn our job. For weather, it's one of the longest tech schools in the United States, or Air Force. It's 8 months long. So that's a year of your life where you're learning, and it's 13 blocks, and each block you have to test out of to go on to the next one, and just feeling like I was going to fail all the time because weather is something I've never touched like before joining the Air Force.
So were there any challenges that you had to face from the time that you decided to start and take the classes to until like now where you have your own business and you are doing these things like full time?
How much time do we have? I mean, I feel like, you know, challenges, like there were so many challenges throughout. You know, when I first started in business, I didn't have any money, so that was a big challenge. I remember there were weeks in college where I didn't have money to buy food, let alone, you know, if something happened, I needed gas money. There's nothing. I had to borrow money from my roommates sometime, and you know, you make a lot of mistakes in life. And I remember first going into the financial industry, and nobody in the office really looked like me. No one spoke like me. Really, nobody had my background. Everyone seemed to have everything already, right? They had the nice clothes, they had the nice car, they had money, they had rich friends, and here I was, just this like 20-some-year-old in this big office, and I had my first suit that I bought at Express, you know? And I remember thinking, okay, I gotta have to make this work. But one thing I did know is that with every challenge was an opportunity.
Have you ever hit like a point in your career journey where you wanted to give up and you thought it would be best if you just stopped?
You know, that's a good question. I think all of us will go through these moments of just extreme stress and extreme anxiety and just being really depressed. And whoever tells you that they haven't gone through this is lying to you, because I can't imagine anybody not going through those moments. I mean, I'm a naturally very positive person, and how I deal really well with stress, because how I deal with it is instead of dwelling on it, I go to action. I start moving, I start working, I start reading, I do research. Take action helps relieve that stress.
So how have the struggles that you've had to experience from when you started out to where you are now, how have those struggles changed and like built you and made you the person you are today?
What I always try to do is take a moment to decompress. And what I mean is to reflect on the struggle. Like I had an early business partner who was just not a good business partner. You know, you had to learn from that. I lost a lot of money, I lost a lot of time. I felt like I had lost a lot of time. I've worked with people who, you know, didn't treat me very well. And you're like, why did I do that? I should have like moved on. And why did I keep sticking through it? But I needed the income. I needed that paycheck, right? But I think it's really important to take time to reflect on what worked and what didn't work and why it didn't work. But you'll also have a higher level of empathy. And I think as to be successful in life, I think you have to have a certain amount of, first of all, hard work, grit, talent, charisma, and also empathy and kindness. Because if you look at some of the most successful people that you look up to, why is it that you look up to them? Not only have they probably succeeded in their field, probably brought in a lot of income, probably helped a lot of people, but most importantly, they're good people. To me, that's more important than anything.
I understand that having such a high position, not only in the education system, but also, in any field, tends to get a little bit more male dominated. So I want to know if there were any struggles that you faced trying to get to where you are now.
More personal timing through my journey, because while I became an administrator during that time, I got married and had 2 kids. And so during that time, definitely it personally had to make decisions about where I was going to go for my next step, and also when, because it had to be right for my family.
I think that is something that a lot of girls need to know, so that they're not so afraid to, go for those higher positions. Yeah,
that's right.
And I also want to know if you've ever, felt like quitting. I understand that this is something that you are passionate about, but I think that sometimes stress can, lead us to somewhere that might make us feel a little bit discouraged. So I want to know if you ever felt that in your journey.
No, not at all. I love waking up every day, coming to school, working with the kids, the teachers. It's inspiring to me just because of the work that we do here. Yes, I will not candy coat it. It is stressful, it is time consuming, and there's a lot. But I think one of the things that we do in being administrators is have a good family support system, a good support system within our district, but also not only within our district, other administrators outside of our district. Good support system there is always really helpful, especially when we're bouncing off ideas, and reducing stress is making sure to have time to our family, to ourselves, and taking care of ourselves.
I think that being a woman, not only in entertainment, but also in law, there were probably a lot of, challenges and struggles that you faced along the way. What were some of them?
Definitely, I would say I faced a number of challenges. I think I've had moments when, when I've certainly been the only woman on a team, or particularly when it comes time that you think that you are ready to take the next step in your career, you're ready for a promotion, you're ready for a raise, developing the skill set to kind of go in and ask for what you think you deserve, and how, and presenting it. And I think I was more fortunate than not that I had really great mentors and sponsors and people that helped me with that, and that believed in me. But that said, I worked in one capacity where I'd been given a ton of responsibility and a great job developing a new area of business for my company. And the company shifted course and decided that it was going to make some changes. And I had to then decide, well, what am I going to do, and how am I going to explain to people, employers, that I know how to do more than just negotiate music contracts. How do I present myself as somebody who has a lot of experience and who is capable of taking on a number of tasks to people that are going to look at a piece of paper and only see one thing. And I found that for women in particular, being a bit more assertive and a bit more aggressive when it comes to selling yourself was a bit of a challenge.
So what are some of the things that the challenges you had to face taught you?
Well, they definitely taught me not to limit myself and not to let other people define me. So at a time when I did have to make shifts, make changes, basically being able to not just speak up for myself, but to not let other people tell me, for example, oh, you have a law degree. Well, really, you should only be applying for legal jobs. You don't really qualify for business capacity jobs, or oh, you don't really know enough about visual media. You've really only worked in records. Not being limited by other people's doubt, and also not letting other people define who I am and what I'm capable of, were probably the skills that that helped me to continue to succeed.
Yeah, and I think that the lessons that you learned are very important lessons. I think that those are such, important things to know, not just in law or in entertainment, but in any field, because I think in order to have people, if you're in a leadership role or if you're just in any role in general, having people put their trust in you, you need to be able to put trust in yourself that you're going to do your best and that you're going to want a good outcome from it.
Absolutely, I agree.
And I want to know what the most rewarding part of your career has been for you.
I think it's the positive impact that I've been able to have on people over the decades that I've been working through, the communication materials that we've put together, the programs that we've developed. We developed a program this past year for Dole packaged foods that's national. It's a hunger program, and we had very little budget to do it with, and there were a lot of people on the corporate partnership side who thought that we weren't going to be able to put together a program that would have the kind of reach that it ended up having. And we touched 6 million children with this program, with little or no funding. And as a result of what we were able to do, that program is going to be expanded. So we've touched kids that we will never ever meet, and they'll never ever know that we were behind that, but we know.
I think that it's amazing that you had the opportunity to do that.
Well, it spurs you on to do other things.
Definitely.
Once you climb that mountain and you accomplish that, then you want to go on to do the next step. So it's like with this event, we're really, really happy with all of the people that have turned out, and it's been a 5-year plan, and we're on target to expand it for next year. And the families that come in and the responses from the kids. We had a little girl that was here from Boston yesterday with her dad and her mom and her older sister. They're staying in a close by hotel. She got her dad to come here at 8:30 this morning. Our event doesn't open till 10, so she didn't get a schedule for today yesterday. So she was here bright and early, and she's here for the whole day again. So when you can capture a kid's attention today with the kind of content that we've put together, that's pretty remarkable.
And, I think that being where you are, there's a lot of things that being in a male-dominated field can teach you. And what are some things that being a mechanic has taught you?
I feel like it has taught me to stand up for myself and really push my own limits to become the person I am today and keep growing. And it's always going to leave me with room for improvement, which I want everyone to know there's always going to be room for improvement. So I feel like it's helped me definitely realize that in myself.
Yeah, that's amazing. What do you think is the most rewarding part of being a mechanic for you?
So far, I feel like in my career, the most rewarding thing is inspiring other people, which I didn't think I did at first, but now that I'm here, when I first started, there's only one other female, and then it was me, and now there's about 5 or 6 other girls in the shop, and I feel like that is the most rewarding to me, because I want to keep seeing other females do jobs that they didn't think they should or could.
That's amazing. I'm glad to hear that, you can see yourself as someone who inspires girls now, because you absolutely are.
What are some of the things that, your career and doing what you've been doing have taught you throughout the years?
I think to lead with love, I think to share your passion, definitely that attitude of gratitude. I think if you ask for seconds, that's the best compliment to me. So I continue to try to hone my skills. It's been a blessed career, and it continues, and for that I'm very grateful.
And I think, being able to share your passion and show your love through, cooking and food is definitely very rewarding. And what would you say is the most rewarding part of being able to do that for you?
I think feeding people and showing love that way is definitely rewarding for me. And just like an artist would paint a palette, paint a canvas, that's their way to express their creativity and their art. And when I master a plate, or I have a great big pot of meatballs that everybody scraped to the bottom, that that's my satisfaction. And there's some self-satisfaction in it as well. I think that food shows love. At least I show it through food, and it's very satisfying.
What are some of the things that, being a director have taught you in your time that you worked with it?
I think I've learned, some of the skills that you need to be a good director. You're working with a lot of creative and talented people, and especially in television, you're working with people who have kind of gotten to the top of their game. As a director, you're collaborating with all these different people, and hopefully, trying to get the best result by working with all of them. And so I think you learn a lot about communication and problem resolution, and you're trying to keep a lot of people happy and keep the ship sailing straight. And so it definitely has taught me things about how to be hopefully an effective leader for the time that I'm there.
What do you think is the most rewarding part of, being a director?
Yeah, I think one of the most rewarding parts is, like I said, just working with these really incredible people who are just so talented and really experts in their field. And so that's really exciting. And then the other part is, being able to watch your work and share it with, in some cases, millions of people who are watching something that you worked really hard on, and being able to share in this kind of expression of comedy or storytelling, whatever it may be, and that is really exciting. I think being able to work in a creative way is such a rewarding part, and it's really what I wanted to pursue working in this field. Every project that you work on, there's different challenges. It never stays the same, and that's something that's really interesting.
What are some of the things that being a mathematician and going through, the process to get to where you are now, what are some of the things that it has taught you throughout, your time?
It has taught me being in the sciences, I think, is very important. Because people are very positive and very helpful. So you normally work in teams. So as I was working on my math degree, I did some research with NASA. So I got to do an internship with NASA, and I worked on flight research. I also worked at the NASA headquarters office. And when you are surrounded by the people that are passionate about these careers, they really encourage you, and that's how I started to fly. So I was at NASA doing flight research, but I had never flown before. And my friends were flying, and they were like, "Come on, Halita, you gotta go fly." And I was like, "No, I don't know if I could do this." I was nervous. And I finally thought, if they can do it, maybe I can do it too. I'm gonna try. I thought, I'm gonna try it, and if I don't like it, it's okay, I don't have to do it again. But I went up for the first time on a glider. A glider is an airplane that has a very long wingspan, and it does not have an engine. And I absolutely fell in love with it. I felt like a bird. So that's why I fly for fun now. I'm a glider student pilot, and I have a lot of fun doing it.
And I think also piloting is also something that is very male dominated. Not many women are doing it. So can you tell me a little bit more about, your experience learning to fly and what you hope to do with that knowledge of flying in the future?
Absolutely. So I started flying in my late 40s, and I got to solo at the age of 50. So it's never too late. Sometimes I see young ladies saying, "Oh no, it's too late. I'm already in my 20s." I'm like, "You've got to be kidding me." You have your whole life ahead of you. You can definitely do it. So for me, my goal is to try to encourage the next generations to come. There are lots and lots of scholarships for women who want to go into flight careers. Not only as a pilot, but as a mechanic or as an engineer or as a mathematician. So there are different women organizations that provide scholarships. And then organizations like NASA and the Air Force have internship opportunities. So there's a lot out there. You just have to do the research. and you can definitely get a lot of funding to go to school. So my goal is to encourage other women to go into these fields, which are very male dominated right now. But it's definitely doable, and it's definitely a lot of fun.
And I would love to see more women doing what you do, because I think it not only is so amazing, but it's so much fun too. Like hearing that you love it so much, I think that it would be amazing to see more people doing that as well. So what do you think is, the most rewarding part of your career for you?
For me, the most rewarding part of my career is encouraging others to pursue some of these fields. So right now, for the Air Force, I am the STEM coordinator for the 4th 12th Test Wing at Edwards Air Force Base. And I love coming to events like this where I can talk to young ladies and young men that are interested in these fields and helping them and guiding them which direction to take to be able to be successful in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you're here doing your thing at Live on Green, because I think it gives I see a lot of young women here and a lot of children here that I think can benefit from seeing you and seeing that you do all this stuff with planes and mathematics, and I think it lets them know that it's absolutely possible, and that they too, if they want to pursue that career, can absolutely do it. And I want to know, what are some things that being in the conducting or the music career, or just a male-dominated field in general, what are some things that has taught you?
It's such a big question, and we have so much dialogue about it, because now is the time when women conductors are really becoming more visible. And it's so interesting to me that that this did not used to be the case, and yet in 2020 there are still so few of us who are visible. And I think sometimes for us the sensitive issues are that we don't want to be known as women conductors. We think that it's right to talk about it because people need to be hearing about these issues, so that we can just lift up more people who happen to be women. But we just want to be seen as conductors because a men chef or a men conductor or a men basketball player aren't called that. And why should we then? I consider myself very lucky to be a woman, but that's that's not the case for everybody in any circumstance. And I really look forward to the day when we can be so much more equal in the way that we look at people in different occupations.
And I want to know, what other things are like the most rewarding part of your career for you?
I think when I begin to, now I have the opportunity to build relationships with individuals through having, because of my mentors, because of my path and colleagues, being where I am now and having the voice to simply say what needs to be said, so that other people who, especially younger people who feel that their voices haven't been heard, can now begin to vocalize those very important viewpoints, which traditionally just have not been, just have been overlooked.
Or not spoken about?
And I remember, as I was saying earlier, my mentors were all men, and I remember there distinctly being a point where I wondered what it would have been like if I had a woman conductor mentor growing up. And I realized that that's still the case for many people who are in my industry today. And so what I aspire to do is that, to build these kinds of relationships so that when people feel like they need to ask a question, they have people to ask. And it may not be me, but if I can build these relationships and help facilitate other relationships, so that there's just a stronger network of people who can feel free to speak their voice and also to ask questions. I think that would be really rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it feels really good to be able to have that kind of impact on a person, to be able to know that you were one of the driving forces that made them follow their dreams, regardless of those fears of being judged by society. What are some of the things that, being the director of development and being like part of this nonprofit and in this field have taught you?
It's taught me, this definitely has taught me to find my voice.
Yeah.
And to know my passion and to be able to appreciate it and appreciate everybody that I meet within this organization, but also outside of it.
You really do need to, know how to have your voice and use it and be powerful,
It's scary. It's scary because when you voice your opinion or how you're feeling, you're putting yourself out there and you're making yourself vulnerable. And a lot of times growing up, you're worried about what if they don't like me?
Yeah.
What if I go into this place and they're horrible and I disappoint them and I can't live up to their expectations? And then what I've learned to realize is that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All that matters is how you feel about yourself.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
as long as what you're saying doesn't hurt anybody, say it. Speak your truth.
Yeah. I think that's absolutely right, and I'm so glad that you talked about that, because I think it's so important for young girls to know that they have the power in like what they say to be able to make that difference. I also want to ask, what are some of the things that you've learned while in the Air Force?
So I think one of my biggest takeaways from the Air Force actually comes from Will Smith's quote. It's the best things in life are on the other side of your maximum fear.
Yeah.
So I was really afraid to go to the Air Force Academy. I was really afraid to go to basic. I was afraid to do, weather. I didn't know if I could handle it. But all these things that I was afraid of ended up being some of the best experiences of my life. So. Definitely, it challenges you. It will challenge you. There's definitely going to be days where you're like, man, I don't know if I can handle this, but you'll come out of it stronger and better. And that's, for me, I've not had an experience that hasn't shaped me like that.
Yeah, that's great.
So my mother always says, do what you gotta do to do what you want to do, and I've always carried that with me, and I feel like the Air Force is the same exact way. I mean, if you're doing your job, if you're good at it, the Air Force offers you so many benefits, like leave, getting to travel. Like, we can travel for practically free if we want to. There's like hops and to go to different countries and stuff like that. So just definitely my biggest takeaway, I guess, from the Air Force is just taking what they offer you. Like I said, I wanted to go to school, and that's the reason I joined. When I came into the Air Force, I had 0 college behind me, and now I have a bachelor's, and I'm pretty much done with my master's degree. So, just taking advantage of what they offer you and making the best of it and going far in your career. Like, they give you all the tools you need. Whether you decide to utilize them, that's up to you.
I interview a lot of people, and you reach out to a lot of different people and make your way around social media a lot, and you're very well known. I've heard that you were a introvert. How do you go from being an introvert to having such a large presence, not just on social media, like various social media platforms, but also in like television and in reality? Like, a lot of people know you and talk to you. How do you make that change? Because it seems like a big one to make.
It's a big change to make. So people always ask me that now, because I wasn't just an introvert. I was an extreme introvert. In fact, most people don't know, but I actually didn't speak in school to teachers or anybody else from kindergarten to 6th grade. And that's because I didn't want people to see me, and I didn't want people to hear me. And I felt like if I just said anything or did anything, I would just explode, because I wouldn't even know how to handle myself. But I think the defining moment for me was when it was 6th grade, and we were in not the best area, and I told my mom I really want to move. And she's like, what do you mean want to move? I said, well, I just feel like I need a new place, and it wasn't safe where we are. I didn't feel safe in the neighborhood that we were. And she says, okay. So luckily my mom trusted me at that moment. We didn't have a lot of money, so we literally bought the least expensive house in the neighborhood right next door, which is a better neighborhood. And I remember walking to high school that first day, and I said to myself, from this day forward, I will no longer be shy. I will no longer not let people hear me. From this day forward, I will be known. And I will be not only known, but I'm going to work through this. I'm going to get through this. And then I made myself one of the most popular people in high school. And I realized that was because I needed to do it for myself, because I knew I had something to share, and I knew I was funny and I was a really nice person, and I knew if people got to know me, it would be a good thing, but I needed to get over it. And it was not an anybody, that was just me.
I know that you also do public speaking alongside financial advisory. So when you are invited to speak at an event, what are the things that you speak about most of the time?
Speaking about the last couple years about how to build out your personal brand, how to leverage your personal brand, how to monetize and profit from your personal brand. So that's been super popular as well. It really, my theory has always been, whenever I speak in any group, my goal is pick one person in that room and give them something actionable that they can literally pack up, leave, and they can take action if they want to.
Have you ever considered phasing out of one or the other and just doing financial advising or just doing public speaking?
My business partner is strictly in the financial realm, like that's all he does.
I would like to know, how has your being in this position changed you or taught you things throughout your time being here?
So my time here and all my time as a teacher and administrator, I learn a lot from my students. My students will let me know exactly what they need, what they like to see on campus, types of clubs and programs, classes they would like to see on campus. Even teachers do teach me a lot too about some of the things that are going on. So on a daily basis, I'm learning a lot from both my students, definitely, and my teachers.
I would like to know what the most rewarding part of your job is for you.
I think seeing kids grow and accomplish things that they didn't think they could accomplish, and seeing the proud faces on their parents and all their teachers, to see all of those things finally come together.
Yeah.
That's probably what I really love to see every day.
Being able to find that one reason that doing what you do makes you happy is so important in, making you want to continue that journey and keep your passion going. Yeah. I want to know what the most rewarding part of your career is for you.
That's a really good question. I do think that the most rewarding part of my career is when really anytime, there's two things. One, for the company, anytime that we achieve a goal that people didn't think we could achieve is extremely rewarding. And sometimes it's something as simple and as maybe silly to some people. Our job is to really work with creators, filmmakers, whoever the creative executives are, marketing executives, and help their vision become reality. So if they have a certain song in their mind that they think is going to be perfect for a trailer, or if they have a certain composer that they think is ideal to make, the score for a movie, even though they really can't afford that. It's a really low budget film, and this is a composer who makes a lot of money. When we go into circumstances like that, and people tell you what their kind of wish list, their wish list is, and on paper, looking at it objectively, you think, well, I don't know how you're going to get that done. Or you go out and you ask for the right to use something, and somebody says, nope, I don't like horror films, or I don't like reality TV, or I don't want my music being used in that way. There's a real rewarding feeling to figuring out how to achieve a good result, where you end up delivering what the person wanted, even though they didn't, no one thought it was possible. And the second part really has to do with just internally, the staff that we get to work with and the people that we get to work with, and bringing people into the team who are new and who are in a position that I was once in, where this, what they're doing might be extending themselves into an area that's completely new for them, and watching, trying to really train and mentor people to grow in their own capacity, and then seeing their successes, that's extremely rewarding too. I think success is dependent on finding your passion. If you're passionate about something, and if you do feel a personal benefit, a personal reward to achieving that goal, whatever it is, you're gonna do it better. You're gonna perform better. You're gonna deliver better results.
Is there anything that you would like to say to girls who are wanting to pursue like a career like yours, or wanting to start their own business, or maybe create an event like this by themselves?
I think that they should follow and find a passion. My passion is helping other people. And, you know, for a young girl, maybe she wants to help someone, but in a different way.
Yeah.
Maybe she wants to go into the medical field or research, or like the Wyland Foundation that's here with us this year, maybe ocean or waterway conservation. You know, marketing and advertising is a wonderful field because it gives you the opportunity to touch so many people. But that's not necessarily interesting for anyone, you know, everyone. So it just, you have to be passionate about whatever it is. And it doesn't matter if your passion is cooking and you want to open a restaurant because that fills you with joy, that's what you need to do. Don't chase the money, chase the passion.
And so, you know, what kind of inspiration do you hope to give younger girls, and what do you want the people watching this right now to take away from this?
I want the other females, the other young girls watching to know that regardless of what other people say, regardless of what society thinks, that you should pursue what you want to do, whether it's going to be a mechanic, whether it's going to be a policewoman, or anything else in that matter. I want you to know that you have it in yourself to pursue that.
I'd like you to give any advice you have to girls who would like to go out into maybe not just like the cooking industry, but also just any male-dominated industry.
Sure.
Yeah.
Be smart, be strong, stand up for yourself with grace, exert yourself when you need to, know your limits. All of those to me are levels and lessons in strength.
Yeah.
And be bold, because sometimes you have to be bold to stand out, to get noticed. And I think that falls under the persistence and the resilience and the commitment. So I think I'm going to stick to strong, smart, bold. It seems to be working.
What impact do you hope to have on, you know, younger girls? What do you hope that the younger girls who are watching this, what do you hope they take away from this?
I really hope that anyone who wants to pursue this type of career feels like they can.
Yeah.
I hope they see someone like me and realize that it's possible.
Yeah.
It you know, took a long time to get here, so I think that part of it is, you know, sticking with your convictions, trying not to experience so much self-doubt that you're paralyzed, but you can pursue your goals despite being fearful, if that makes sense.
Is there anything that you would like to say to a younger girl, or just someone in general who wants to go into directing or a career in entertainment?
I think start now making stuff. If you want to get experience on working in film or working in entertainment, you know, try to find people that you know that are working that way, and go on set, write stuff and make stuff with your friends. I think you know, you can start now, especially with the availability of equipment and you know, again, people, a lot of people are interested in this, and there's so much being made that there's a lot of opportunity for you to kind of find your way. I also think that you may have an idea in your head, like, oh, I'd like to be a writer or a director or a producer, and that can also shift. You know, you may decide, you may learn through working in film, like, oh, actually I really like editing, or I really like costume design. You know, you may find a different niche. There's so many jobs in film and entertainment that are really interesting, and you get to work with a lot of creative and smart people.
And what do you hope the girls who are listening will take away from, you know, your story?
The key is to never give up, because once you give up, it's over.
Yeah.
But if you don't give up, you can do great things. At Edwards Air Force Base, we have female pilots who literally fly F-35s, F-22s, C-12s. I mean, these are huge accomplishments, you know. And we have many female engineers and mathematicians, statisticians. So hope that women are inspired, as well as young men are inspired to pursue these careers, because they really can be very rewarding.
Yeah, definitely.
Lots of fun.
So finally, I would like to ask you if there is anything that you would like to tell the viewers, or any girls who want to enter a career like yours, or just a male-dominated field in general.
Yeah, I would just say don't be afraid, but remember, I think one of the most valuable pieces of advice that I've ever been given is, in my field, but you can substitute the noun, the job for anything else. Be a fierce musician, but be a gentle human being. And I think that if you embrace that and put all of your passion into your work, but remember that you are working with people, and because of that, work with love, work with kindness and compassion. I think in any career, that will take you to where you ultimately want to be.
Finally, is there anything that you would like to say to girls who want to go into a career like yours, being a part of a nonprofit organization?
Yeah, definitely. Nonprofits, any nonprofits, you're working for the good of mankind and whatever. And find something that you're passionate about. And it's okay if you're not so passionate about the water, but you're more passionate about animals or sick children or elderly, and even if you don't choose not to work for a nonprofit, and bring awareness to that, whatever you decide to do, have your heart in it and make sure that it's making you happy.
Do you have anything that you want to say to any girls who might want to go into the sports industry, or just want to enter a male-dominated field in general?
Yeah, honestly, just follow your passion. There are so many men out there who will kind of like break you down, but don't let that get to your head. Like, if you know what you're talking about, if you know what field you're going into, you really have the ability to dominate in that. So make sure that you just go for your dreams and follow your passion.
I wanted to ask if you guys have a message that you would like to say to any, girls who want to join the Air Force or just the armed forces in general. Like, if you have any advice or anything you'd like to say,
I honestly would just say do it. Like, don't hesitate at all. Like, go for your dream. Dream the wildest dream and chase it. That's kind of what the Air Force was for me, and it has not disappointed.
Yeah.
I second that for sure. Do it to the best of your ability. Like, never, always be 110% on anything you do, because at the end of the day, your name's going to be on it. And because you've given 110%, you can set yourself up for other things you want to do in life.
Yeah.
And trust me, at basic, I was like, I can't do this. Whether it was the run or, like I said, feeling like I was going to fail every test, I did do it. I may have thought that, but I got through it, and you will too.
So I know that on social media, a lot of what you do is you send out positive messages that try to pick people up. And I think that is wonderful that you do that, because a lot of the time we all have those days where we feel very discouraged. So when you have those bad days and when you feel discouraged, what are the things that you do to pick yourself back up and make yourself, encourage yourself to continue going?
Life is full of things you don't like to do. But if you have that sort of person out there who just hears you at that moment. Like today, I shared out this thing because I was really late. I was up last night because going through my Twitter feed, and I could sense that there were some people that I was following that they were having a down moment. So I tweeted something. I tweeted something really simple, and I says, "Why not you? Why not you? Why don't you step up, because you have your superpower? Why don't you share your superpower? Why not you today?" And so many people shared that and commented and said that really helped them. So I think when you get to a point where you feel like you know how to deal with those moments, I feel like it's so easy to share it with somebody, and maybe at that moment it'll help them, give them some clarity, and it'll help them pivot a little faster.
And so my final question, as a principal, you work really closely with students and children. And people who are also in their teens. I would like to know if you have any words of advice or wisdom to people who are planning on entering a college or going to school for a male-dominated career path.
Okay, so mainly for my females?
Yes.
Okay, so to my female students and to every other female out there, know that you guys got to lift each other up. Don't bring each other down. You guys are your own support systems, and don't be afraid to question the current status, because it is sometimes male dominant, but it doesn't always have to be. You guys can change that. Work hard, be kind, always.
Wow, those interviews sure were inspirational and informative. I hope their stories inspire you and that you learned as much from them as I did. Turns out these women faced challenges, but they learned a lot from them, and they even shared tips with us on how we can handle our own challenges. My name is Machaela McLean, and I want to thank you for joining me on my journey to discover what it takes to be a woman in a male-dominated field. And if you're like me and you're thinking about your future, I hope these interviews gave you a little insight and inspiration to do what makes you happy and never let anything limit you. We all have different stories, and with a little perseverance and hard work, we can turn our dreams into reality and maybe even make history. Above all, always remember to keep a positive mindset and believe in yourself, because in the end, you will be the one who takes you higher. Thank you.